In this video today, I am driving a Honda Integra DT2 Type R, thanks to Apex Car competition prizes. So, if you want to know a little bit more about this car, go hit the link in the description down below. Now, this is going to be a no-nonsense, straight-to-the-point kind of car review with this. So, yeah, let's just go for a drive and talk about this legend of a car. So, this is a typical 90s car. It's got one of those immobilizers where you got to hit a button before. Anyway, let me hit that. I think I've got it. No, have I got it now? Yeah, I have. Start it up. Very sensible startup. And away we go. So, let's explain a little bit about this Integra. First off, Honda Integras were sold everywhere else in the country but the UK. We only got the Type R versions of these cars in the late 90s. 500 of them only came here, and they were sold very quickly because they were very, very special. What makes it so special? Well, first off, it's got a 1.8 litre naturally aspirated 4-cylinder VTEC engine, and it's a very, very clever unit. There's plenty of cars nowadays with variable valve timing, but this had a split personality. Below 6,000 RPM, you had this very mundane shopping trolley, and then once you get past it, it was basically like a touring car. It was a nuts engine. Also, it had some very special components. First off, it had lightweight materials, it had a limited slip diff, it had these lovely Recaro bucket seats, and it had it just had a personality all of its own. This particular car has got a very interesting story. It's a one lady owner car for the last 20 years. And basically she watched an episode of old Top Gear when Tiff, the Sultan of Slide, was hooning one of these around the track. The following day she walked into her local Honda dealership and basically bought an Integra DT2 Type R for £24,000. A lot of money back then, but these cars are an appreciating asset. Let's drop it down a few gears and get it in the VTEC power band. Oh wow. There's a noticeable step once you get it past 6,000 RPM, and it's quite nice. In fact, let me do that again. Ooh. It revs all the way to 8,000 and it strolls on. It strolls on quite quick. It doesn't have much torque. It only makes 131 pounds-feet. City cars make more torque than this, but it's only carrying 1,100 kilograms, which is, well, very, very light. It's almost Lotus Exige levels of weight. First impressions, well, I quite like the suspension. It's firm, but not too crashy. The road I'm going down at the minute is, well, it's got lots of compressions, it's quite bumpy. I've driven down here in a few other cars earlier, and this flows along quite nicely. Maybe it's down to these 15-inch tyres. The steering is also a nice highlight as well too. It's only 3 turns lock to lock, so you know the turning's quite slow compared to modern day cars, but you do feel a lot of what's going on, and it's the right amount of weight off centre for a car this size. Also, the seating position, bang on if I'm honest. Reminds me a lot of the Honda NSX. You can see out of it really, really well. There's no blind spots. The dials are very, very clear. The interior is obviously a 20-year-old interior, but it does the job. And that's because, well, you don't really buy this car to look at it. Or, well, I don't think it was Honda's intention for that anyway. You buy it to drive it, and this to drive, well, I can see why this car's got so much high praise. Once you roll them gears, you can get it flying down, and yeah. First off, heeling and towing is an absolute joy because you want to get it within that power band, and when you do, you have the joy of just changing gear. And it's not a slow car. 0 to 60 happens a smidge over 6 seconds, which is actually not too far off the current Honda Civic's 0 to 60 time, but numbers are meaningless if I'm honest. The spec that you could have on the UK Honda Integras is no aircon, and this one is spec'd with no aircon. In fact, this particular example has covered 65,000 miles, and it's a very, very fine example. First off, Integras tend to rust on the rear arches. This one doesn't, and this one's being kept in a garage. The seat bolsters are really nicely kept after as well too. Yeah, I mean, Honda's going forever, let's be honest, but it's always nice to have someone who's looked after it from basically brand new, and the lady who used to own this car has done that. I was thinking that the ride and handling on this car, especially the way the setup is, was going to be quite firm. In fact, that's the impression I get from most Honda Civic Type Rs, like the EP3, the FK2, FN2, etc. But the ride and handling, especially the chassis, it's very supple. It's firm, it's noticeably firm, but it's not too crashy at all. In fact, going down this country road, it covers ground really, really well. The rear axle is completely locked down. It doesn't feel like it's going to jump over bumps. The steering's also a standout feature. It just feels communicative. And one thing I really do like about this car is the fact that it's the right amount of power for the road. First off, 131 pounds-feet of torque doesn't sound like a lot, but once you're in the power band, you don't get any of that nip and tuck from the front wheels. You don't get any torque steer. It doesn't jump out of line once you get on the power. In fact, on a day like today where it's 3 degrees outside and it's a bit icy, it just feels very well sorted and very well planted, and you can apply every bit of those 190 horsepowers. Tell me another hot hatch that can do that. A lot of the turbocharged hot hatches right now, they've got too much boost, and a lot of people do like boost, but for me, NA engines are the one, hence why I love the Honda VTEC engines. And unlike other 4-cylinder engines, which are, let's be honest, a bit mundane, a bit dull, this one's got a personality all of its own. So when you do get on it, you're not going too fast down a country road to the point where you might lose your license. The best bit about this car is not actually thrashing it. It's actually carrying momentum down a country road and then just threading it through certain lanes. Just, you know, teasing it. Driving it with delicacy is actually the best bit about this car, which is something I never thought I'd say about Honda. I'll be honest with you, I'm not the biggest Honda fanatic, and for some reason the Integra DC2 Type R has flown under the radar. I've read so much about this car and I know that they're great to drive. I just didn't think it was going to be as good as what I thought, and I'm glad that I've driven one, because first off, it doesn't feel old in the sense of the performance is not quite up to scratch. It's very, very quick, especially on song. A Fiesta ST would not see where this car's gone. The chassis is really good. It has a really nice blend of delicacy and aggression. The motor is brilliant. It begs for revs. It just loves to be thrashed. But then at the same time, it's got this personality of, I can see this actually being an absolute hoot on track. It's a shame we don't have a track nearby where we can see what it's actually like, but it's so enjoyable on the road. Like I said, the highlights, the steering's really nice. The gearbox is slightly notchy once you drive it with a little bit more aggression. Also, heel and toe in this car is an absolute joy as well too. But the most important thing about this is, it just makes me realise how we don't need turbocharged front wheel drive cars. I sometimes think it causes more aggravation than it does good, because when you have a turbocharged motor, especially on a day like today, if I was in, say, a Mark V Golf GTI, which has the same sort of power as this, I'll be scrabbling for torque and traction, and to be honest, you're just not going anywhere, and plus the engine's not as sonorous. Why can't we have cars like these again? That's the question I want to know. Why can't we have stuff like this? Because it's quick, number one. It drives really well. In fact, there's so much to be learnt from this car to make new hot hatches, and I include Honda in that as well too. We need more cars like these, because I mean, I'm pretty sure 1.8 litre engine could pass its European emissions. happy that I've driven one of these. Also sad the fact that this shames quite a lot of hot hatches, and I mean quite a lot of it. It's so good, it really is. And also, it's a classic. 500 of these are made. Don't know how many there are on the road, but probably not a lot. And it was a pleasure to drive this very car. What are the downsides? Well, the interior is a bit dull. I think the styling of this car, it's aggressive, but it's not a pretty looking thing. And that's it really. The fact that you can't buy one of these is quite sad. And the fact that people don't really take them out on days like today. So yeah, that's everything really. But you could be that very person that could win. Go check out Apex Car Competitions in the links in the description down below. Follow their Instagram, follow all their social media sites, and keep an eye out. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, please subscribe. Until next time folks, see you later.